Good morning. You are the faithful. You really are. I always say that those who show up in a Protestant church or a liberal church like ours on the Sunday of Labor Day weekend are like akin to the devout Catholic who are there at Mass every week. So if you are with us in this space of love or you are joining us from home, please know that you are all welcome here. And believe it or not, even if you choose to watch this days or weeks or months from now, you too are welcome here as well. Here at Fountain Street Church, where love and justice and inclusion and peacemaking are part of our shared work in this beautiful and wonderful legacy ministry that we share together. I'm Reverend Christopher Rowe. I use he, him pronouns, and I serve as the acting senior minister in this season here at Fountain Street Church, and it is my privilege to welcome each and every one of you who belongs here. This morning, I know that we had been promoting that I would be speaking, but we shared some news this week that we have a new role of chaplain here at Fountain Street Church, and it is actually going to be filled and served by Margie Peterson, who's also at the piano. And so, midweek, I said, would it be crazy if you spoke and kind of talked about your story and how it relates to all of this? So she said yes, and I happen to know that she had told me before, I've got sermons in my back pocket if you ever need one. So thank you, Margie. I'm so excited to invite you into this space and hear her voice as we welcome her into this really important and special new role here at Fountain Street. I'm really excited about it. Thank you. I also want to welcome Margie Peterson for playing this morning, but thank you, Margie, as well for your gifts of music. Gosh, you can tell it's been a long summer. Speaking of summer, this is our final Sunday in the summer speaker series. Wow. So I want to give a great deal of gratitude to the Religious Services Committee who put this all together. That's Kil Koistra and Heather Palmer. Where did you go? They're, wow, way back there. Heather Palmer and Dick Wood, who I don't think is with us today. But thank you to all of them for that. This has been a wonderful summer with a lot of unplanned continuity through the messages. I think Margie picked up on that as well. And so what a wonderful summer. Thank you. But as we prepare our hearts for this final Sunday here in the chapel, I want to invite each of you to embody a sense of reverence and peace and stillness as you hear our invitation to worship this morning, which comes to us from the Reverend Tim Haley, amid all the noise of our lives. Join me as we prepare for worship. Amid all the noise in our lives, we take this moment to sit in silence, to give thanks for another day, to give thanks for all of those who are in our lives, who have brought us warmth, who have brought us love, and to give thanks for the gift of life. We know that we are on our pilgrimage here, but for a brief moment of time, let us rest. Let us open ourselves here and now to the process of becoming more whole, of living more fully, of giving and forgiving more freely, of understanding more completely the meaning of our lives here on this earth and here in this moment we share. Welcome to worship. We're going to begin our time in one voice of singing together with hymn number 39. You can find that in your chairs. Hymn 39 in this gray book, Bring, O Morn, Thy Music, one of my favorite hymns. 39, Bring, O Morn, Thy Music. Thank you. You may be seated and make yourselves comfortable. Our reading this morning that invites us deeper into worship with one another is titled On Generous Listening by Krista Tippett. Hear these words that are from our contemporary spirits and what they say to our gathered community. Generous listening is powered by curiosity, a virtue we can invite and nurture in ourselves to render it instructive to our lives. It involves a kind of vulnerability, a willingness to be surprised, to let go of assumptions, and to take in ambiguity. The listener wants to understand the humanity behind the words of the other and patiently summons one's own best self and one's own best words and questions into being. Every week we make space to embrace the stillness and the solidarity we share with one another through the form of prayer. I have said for a long time that when you come to worship here at Fountain Street Church, there's nowhere else you need to be. And I don't just mean you don't need to be grocery shopping or you don't need to be doing something else at home. It means that even your spirit and your psyche, your body and your soul have nowhere else to be but here right now. And so we use meditation and prayer as a way of truly grounding ourselves in that space. That is the space that I invite you to join us in now. Hear these words from Mother Teresa, who once said, "God speaks in the silence of the heart. Listening is just the beginning of the prayer." I invite you into a space of listening together. Will you pray with me? Spirit that time nor space can contain. God of the liminal spaces and places. We are exactly where we need to be right now. Help us to know that. We all come into this space together containing multitudes. We all come in to this space together carrying the outside world with us. Help us in this moment to just let it sit next to us. In this hour of love and caring and sharing and stillness and peace and growth and resilience. Help us to just be here. In a world that has been mired in violence and loss and mourning and injustice, help us to remember that it is still love and hope and faith and joy and beauty and goodness and peace and liberation that will guide us through those places. And it is in this shared hour of worship that we learn to go into those spaces. In the silence, may the prayers of loss and joy, sorrow and hope be heard now. May our communal listening be but the beginning of a prayer we are weaving together. And may it be so. Amen. One of the embodied ways in which we engage in community is through the weekly collection of the offering. Every week, our love is put into action through the ingathering of our gifts and our resources. Here at Fountain Street Church, we share a tradition of saving 50% of those resources to continue this legacy ministry going forward into a world that so desperately needs us, but the other 50% dramatically and gladly goes right into the community through social offerings of gifts and grants to the community that we share. And so with the spirit of generosity and hope and love, the offering will now most graciously be received.
I always have to be so careful not to flip my hearing aids across the room when I do that. So this is not a sermon that I had in my back pocket. I had to figure out what I wanted to say to you this morning. As I stand here and look at all of you, I'm struck by how long I've been a part of this community, this institution, this wonderful church. And I realize that means that I'm getting up there, as they say. In this case, it's a good thing. I know many of you. I know much of the history of this church. personally for the past 57 years. And I know something about its traumas and its joys and celebrations. And I'm still curious. I'm curious about you, what you value and celebrate, and what you fear and worry about. I'm curious to see what we can do together as a community. I'm curious to find out what more I can learn about myself in service to you. Looking back, I am grateful, incredibly grateful to my parents for bringing me here in 5th grade. Before that, I had been attending Methodist churches. My dad was a Methodist minister. He left his last assignment in Holland in 1965, and my family started driving in from Holland every Sunday to attend church and character school. I was grateful even then because Fountain Street was the natural extension of what I was being taught at home, to be open-minded and to question and honor the questions. In 3rd grade Sunday school, I had asked my teacher why, to which she replied, "Because the Bible says so." My response of, "That's not a good reason," was acceptable to my dad, then the assistant minister at the church, but not to many others. Imagine my relief to find that at Fountain Street, questions were encouraged and answers not necessarily expected. Living with questions was acceptable. Fountain Street Church and my parents were the building blocks for so much of who I have become. Not so long ago, in a seminary class, we were asked to provide our rule of life, the basis of our beliefs, so to speak. I could find nothing simpler nor more challenging than the golden rule. The Christians say it thus: "Do unto others as you would they should do unto you." Simple, yes? Okay, maybe the language isn't so simple. The Buddhists say it a little more clearly: "Do nothing unto others which you would not have done unto yourself." And we start to catch on. This is fundamental. This is worldwide. This is important. Jewish: "Do not do unto others that which you would not have them do unto you." Zoroastrian: "Do not approve for another what you do not like for yourself." Sufi: "O God, may I treat others as I would like to be treated. What I like not for myself, may I not dispense to others." Muslim: "Do unto all men as you would wish to have done unto you." And Confucian: "May we take the word of reciprocity to serve as our rule of life. What we do not wish others to do to us, may we not do unto them." This is the basis of so many religions, so many belief systems. It is understood by humans everywhere that this is how we must live in order to be happy. And it is simple. Yet it is not easy. Fear takes precedence in personal relationships and dealings between nations. Self-service wins out. How can we give when we fear not having enough or not being enough? Given that this principle has been around for a very, very long time, and our world is still in chaos near and far, it's obvious that it can't be easy for people to live this way. Nevertheless, each time we choose to follow the principle, we move the vibrations of the universe toward love and away from pain and chaos. And obviously, I'm not the only one around here who believes this. Throughout the summer, the speakers presented again and again their ideas about community. Wynne Irwin started off the summer with a reading from Barbara Brown Taylor, which said, "I asked for religious certainty, and God gave me relationships instead." John Robinson said, "To change the world, I think we need a vision of belonging." Ken Norris encouraged us to withhold our biases and filters in order to learn how to truly listen to one another. Pat Eamon described the importance of finding consensus as we strive to work together. Kristen Locke recommended that we learn to accept each other as we are and appreciate each other's gifts. Jill Van Antwerp spoke of the importance of teaching the multifaceted stories of people not like ourselves. Jenny Kinney told us her story of building a family by embracing chosen ones and welcoming everyone. Sue Clay shared ideas about effective communication. George Zeiderveen observed that we live with opposing influences in the world and in ourselves. And at Fountain Street Church, we can balance them and celebrate them. John Schweitzer told many historical anecdotes, the upshot of which is the importance of this community to him and to those he shares it with. Linda and Jim Jones wove the stories of people co-creating in many ways to the betterment of all. And Austin McWilliams challenged us to accept those who are deeply different from us and love them in spite of our differences. This is a cross-section of the people of this beloved community, and all are saying, we must come together. We must belong, and we must make this a place for belonging. At the root of this is the Golden Rule. Every day of my life, this is my guiding principle. I don't think about it all the time. To me, that's not what a guiding principle is about. It's something to go to in time of need. When negative emotions threaten to overwhelm me, that's when I reach for the Golden Rule. If you are angry and you come to me, I will listen to you, because I would want you to listen to me if I were angry. I do not expect you to listen to me. That is not what the Golden Rule is about. It is not about my expectations of you. It's about my expectations of myself. The same applies if you are grieving or merry or worried. I will listen to you, and I will try to help you learn to listen to each other and indeed to your own inner voices. If you've read my bio, or if you've known me during the many years I've participated in worship and the life of this church, you know the basics. Here's a quick summary. Born 1955, grew up mostly in Holland till 1980 when I moved to Grand Rapids. BA in English, BM in music, worked mostly music from 1980 on, including much of the time at FSC. Back in 2016, though, something happened. I finally had to acknowledge a strong inner voice that had been telling me for a couple of years, get out of Grand Rapids. I had been waiting for it to tell me where I needed to go. It never did. Even though I'm back here now, maybe it has. I trust that the many adventures I've had since 2016 have all been in keeping with this deep message. I circumnavigated the country, first on my bike and then in my car with the bike on the back. I lived in coastal Mississippi for a winter and then in Johnson City, Tennessee for a season, working as the music director for the local UU church there. I moved to Los Angeles and attempted to live there for 4 months before returning to Grand Rapids in December, which was not easy. Along the way, I participated in worship at the North Shore UU Society of Louisiana in Lacombe, visited First Unitarian in downtown Los Angeles, and of course participated fully in the life of Holston Valley UU Church in Johnson City. The UU varies wildly from place to place, yet its 7 principles make it the most likely place for me to find a church home away from Grand Rapids. Feeling drawn to these activities, on top of my years of experience in West Michigan as a church musician, a wedding supervisor, and an officiant of weddings and memorials, I felt more and more certain that the segue from my musical life was toward congregational service. Chaplaincy, more than ministry, pulled me. I understood a chaplain to be someone with a broad understanding of the panoply of people's beliefs and a willingness to recognize and honor all of them. Chaplains serve in places where people of many different beliefs gather, willingly or unwillingly. Prisons, hospitals, workplaces, universities, to name but a few. In order to be effective, I thought, a chaplain must be open to the many expressions of spirit. So I hastened to enroll in seminary, looking forward to learning these kinds of things. Oops, no. At least that wasn't what the seminary I went to was about. It was about training church ministers in its specific denomination. Sure, it was interesting. I learned some cool stuff, but ultimately it wasn't about that which I had grown to value, or in which I wanted to be trained. Fortunately, one of the most valuable courses I took that semester was one I didn't get college credit for. That was the Befriender training I received right here at Fountain Street. And subsequently, I discovered that I could enter the chaplaincy training program at Bronson Hospital in Kalamazoo, and did so, beginning my study in May of 2020, a year that will live forever in our memories. I learned a great deal about myself, about the process of chaplaincy in a hospital setting, and about how much I value having more than a short, one-time visit with someone. After a second unit of training at Bronson, I returned to Grand Rapids, looking forward to these aspects of chaplaincy. Meeting people where they are. Learning about individuals by spending time with them, one-on-one and in groups. Living love. Taking what I know about love into every move I make in the world. Being a resource for people who need or just want to talk, to share, to unburden, to question, to express, to be with another person in trust and caring. And accepting myself as that resource and offering it freely. So here we are. I am standing before you, you seated here in the chapel, and those of you watching at home now or sometime in the future. And you are wherever you are, digesting this information and having some sort of reaction to it. I hope it's one that says, I'm looking forward to this, because I certainly am. I could say that we have work to do together. This is what I think. We have fun to have together. We have ideas to share together. We have ways to care, to learn together. We have people to support together. We have a wonderful church to celebrate together, even when we're sad. We have a community that not only has an amazing history, but that has a future in the hearts of its congregants, loving one another, listening to one another, and rejoicing in each other. We are Fountain Street Church, and we love one another. Without that, we are nothing. As we are increasingly able to spend more and more time in one another's company, I want nothing more than to help us remember how important this is, not only to our well-being, but to our very being. I am so pleased and honored to embark on this role as your chaplain. Thank you all for being who you are and for welcoming me. Blessed be.
Thank you so much, Margie. Friends, I can say from a personal level that every time I get together with Margie, which has been for years now, I always go into it wanting something from the conversation, but I walk away getting something I needed from the conversation. So I'm looking forward to our church experiencing those gifts with Margie. We are going to join together in one voice for our sending hymn, which can be found in the same gray hymnal, page number 298. Wake now my senses. So please join in one voice as we sing hymn 298. Wake now my senses. Thank you. You may be seated. As we make our way to the close of our final summer service here in the chapel, it would behoove me to share some information about next week, because next week we return to the sanctuary at 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock. We'll remind you a few times, though this is like a lot less at stake, because if you show up at 10, you just can really enjoy the sanctuary for an hour, which is actually a nice place to sit. But so 11 o'clock is what time we'll be gathering as a community in the sanctuary, the return of the choir, the return of Jonathan Took, the return of all kinds of readers and greeters, and a lot of energy. With that information comes some COVID information that has not been fully distributed, and that is that beginning next Sunday, we will be mask optional in the whole building, and that includes the sanctuary. Now, that doesn't mean that we will not be encouraging them for many people, especially those who want to still wear them, but for those who are uncomfortable with it or like to sing without them, or it's easier for you to hear your friends or me say something to you in the narthex, you can say, take that off. So we will be mask optional beginning next week in the whole building. So that's another note to think about as you assess your own risk and your own safety. Maybe you want to sit it out for a few weeks and watch from home, or you want to come and sit in the back or somewhere where you feel safer. But know that that's another change next week. So those are the few things I want to lift up. It's the end of summer, at least as Fountain Street measures time. And so those are a few programming notes. As we prepare for our blessing, I invite you to hear these words that come from Ubiji Neskar's poem, Sonnet of Silence. Hear these words as they send you into our shared world together. I'm the loudest when I'm silent, and my lips are shut, yet I can speak treasures. Speech without heart is nothing but noise. So listen to my silence and you'll hear the universe. Words spoken with mere lips reach nowhere, for it is the heart that makes those same words alive. Tell people who you are without saying a word at all, and speak from your very core, and you'll know I'm all right. I repeat, silent people are the ones with the loudest hearts, for when you speak less, you listen more. The more you listen, the more you are heard. The more you hear, the more that you will get to grow. So, set your words on fire. Let them churn into ashes, and tell people who you are as you go forth from this place without all the speeches. Friends, may you go in love to love the world. We'll see you next week over there. Go in peace.
C'est une chanson qui nous ressemble. Toi, tu m'aimais et je t'aimais. Nous vivions tous les deux ensemble. Toi qui m'aimais, moi qui t'aimais. Mais la vie sépare ceux qui s'aiment tout doucement, sans faire de bruit. Et la mer efface sous le sable les pas des amants, des souvenirs.